going on, everybody? We have a little bit of a bonus show for you today. I, as always, am your host, Rob, joined by Jesse and Dave. And we have a special guest. We have Alexandra from Halloween, New England here. And she's going to tell us about some of the stuff that is going on around New England for the Halloween season. And we're going to talk about some other stuff as well. Alexandra, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
So what I want to know first is how long have you been doing the Halloween New England and what got you started in this? Because just so everyone knows, she
Mm.
has so many social media pages. She's posting about literally every haunted location, movie festival, everything that's going on for the season. It's amazing. I've actually been using it the last few weeks just to notate for the 5 minutes that we have free between the three of us for the season. Maybe there's something we can sneak in, and that's what I've been looking at. So what gets you started in doing this?
Oh, well, oh my goodness. So it's our 10th
Mhm,
year doing this, 10th season of haunted houses, Halloween events, pumpkin festivals, ghost tours, you name it. It originated just really the seed of the idea is wanting to go do this stuff myself and finding it a challenge to find what I was looking for. So
mhm,
to give you an overview, Halloween New England is a website that is really just a resource for anything related to Halloween in the 6 New England states. So, if people are not local or very familiar with New England consists of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And I just focused on Halloween and horror adjacent events in those 6 particular states, really broken down and organized by categories. So you'll find pumpkin patches and ghost tours and haunted houses and haunted hay rides and horror movies and all that good stuff. And it's because it is a struggle to find those things independently. So, although the idea of a directory of events is really not a new innovation, uh, it 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 there was really nothing out there that I was finding that had a comprehensive list of things and things that were also specific to this area. One of the challenges I was also encountering was how out of date a lot of that information is. Or I might go to a site that might focus on Rhode Island Halloween, and I would find things from New Hampshire on there. I would think, well, I specifically was looking for Rhode Island, and you're just sending me, to another state. And in the case of Halloween New England, I just wanted to solve that problem, for myself and put everything in kind of one place and make it organized. So I'd say the way it's organized is very important to me. It needs to be user friendly. I obviously am building the site these days for everybody who uses it and engages in it during the season, but I use it too. I spend basically from Labor Day until mid-November visiting Halloween events, haunted attractions, ghost tours, pumpkin festivals, horror movies. I do all of the things that I encourage other people to do. And, I don't go looking elsewhere for that. I don't Google those things because they're on my site. And a lot of the things on my site you really can't find on Google because it takes a lot of research to put them all in one place.
mm,
It does. I've run into this issue, and I think last year alone, I was taking the kids around, and I'm like, "Let's find a corn maze." And we went
Hmm.
to 3 different farms that had advertised at some point on Google that they had a
Yeah.
corn maze, and none of them had it. I was going out of my mind, so we gave up. No corn maze last year. Wish I knew about your website.
I wish you did too. And I will say, one of the things about how it has certainly evolved, the Halloween New England has evolved through the years. There was a point where I would have daytime corn mazes as well as the nighttime ones. At this point, I'm really focusing more on the spooky stuff. So I'm sorry, Jesse. I don't have a list of all the daytime corn mazes for you and the kids. But if you are
Ah,
looking for, I know, although I could point you in some directions, that's for sure. I do know where they exist. I do have that information. I just don't focus on the daytime stuff for the Halloween site anymore.
that's
But I
fine.
do have haunted corn mazes and also flashlight corn mazes, which if people aren't familiar with what that is, it is a non-haunted experience where you get to go through a corn maze, under the light of the moon, and you just wander through.
It's a
Usually you bring a flashlight,
sounds like
and it's just
just a great way to
amazing.
die. It's a good way to just.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's not meant to be haunted, but to be completely honest, it's very spooky. and all it takes, I've certainly been through a flashlight corn maze, which again, no one's in there trying to pop out at you. No one's trying to scare you, but have some, possum that just kind of, trucks across my path while I'm going through, and that's plenty scary because, of course, nature is still there, and that alone is, it's certainly surprising and not something that you expect. But the way that I don't know. It really, there's something very magical about a flashlight corn maze and just wandering through without even having to watch your back or wonder what's around the corner. And it's an amazing way to experience New England in the fall. It's really, if no one has done it, I would encourage people to try it out at least once. I think you'll probably fall in love with it.
I've never done that, but corn mazes are difficult enough in the daytime.
Yes.
Never mind nighttime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have a terrible sense of direction, as anyone who's ever
I think the anxiety
driven with me or
yeah, the anxiety level would already be so high anyways, and then so I'm almost glad that they don't do a thing where things pop out at you as well, because I would just give up like 2 minutes in and be like, I don't know where I am, and now people are yelling at me. Just get me out of here.
I know. Well, it's true. Even a haunted corn maze. I mean, it's almost like they might have actors in the haunted corn maze, but it sometimes doesn't even take an actor. It just takes the idea that there could be an actor, because your elbow brushes against some of the crispy corn stalks at that time of year, and just you make yourself jump. Corn mazes are pretty great, and I'm trying to think. I don't think I have one on my agenda for this season, which is a shame. I'm now kicking myself. I wonder if I can find one to squeeze in, because they really are a special kind of Halloween experience for sure.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have to add on a comprehensive list of corn mazes just for Jesse.
I know.
And if you can't find one, you're going to have to build one. So
just give me private access. No one else needs this. I'm the only one that needs this. Everyone else can figure it out.
Well, and of course, corn mazes are at farms, right? And farms, I'll say, they're kind of all over the map in terms of how frequently they update their sites, so it can be a bit of a challenge. It's not uncommon to have a farm that doesn't have a proper website. They just have a Facebook presence, and sometimes that Facebook presence is like a personal page with the farm name on it, and so it can definitely be a challenge sometimes to pin down what those corn mazes are, especially if you're willing to drive for one. People tend to just know about the things that are at the farms in their own community, but it can be a bit trickier to find those farms that are, offering it and what their schedule is. Some farms
not even just the farms, but some of these like smaller town haunts, like you look them up online and you call them and it's just some dude's cell phone, and you look him up and he's pissed, and now you got to go fight him, and no one wants to do that except for Dave.
This is true. So that could be a home haunt that you're talking about, which sometimes home haunts are, home haunts or yard haunts are usually held, as the name implies, at someone's personal residence. And those are, they're not typically across my site. There's so many incredible home haunts and yard haunts that really fly under the radar. Like you said, it might just have a phone number and a flyer hanging up at the local coffee shop, or it's just one of those word of mouth things. They don't necessarily, I'd say most of them do not have websites. Maybe they have a Facebook page, dedicated to that. And they're often just open, Halloween weekend. So it might be 2 or 3 nights. And those are a labor of love, but they require a lot of work to research and to find them, because there are so many. And Halloween New England, for the most part, just focuses on pro-haunted attractions, professional haunted attractions, which are held at an independent location rather than a residence. So that when people are finding those particular types of haunted attractions on my site, they're finding ones that are, again, they're being inspected by the local, building and fire inspectors. They carry insurance, have security. They have just a different standard in place. So those are the ones you'll typically find on my haunt guides on Halloween New England. But there are certainly some yard haunts that are listed in the events guide. And they're usually, oftentimes they're free, or they're fundraising for the local food pantry. And they're also very worthwhile to check them out.
Yeah, one of my favorite haunts of all time like for locally, started as a
Mhm.
home haunt. And it was
Mm.
actually, I don't know if you'll remember this one, but the Ghoulie Manor, they did it at the Taunton Mall. And you're like,
Oh,
why the hell is there a haunted house at a mall? It's not going to
mm,
be good. And it was
mm.
actually one of the best haunted
Spectacular.
houses that I had ever been to.
Spectacular.
I'm so sad it's not there anymore. But
Yeah.
just it was just themed, and you went through every room, made sense to the haunted house. And
Yes.
some of these haunted houses, they're scary and stuff, but it's like you
Mhm.
walk into one room that's a classroom and the next one's like a
Mhm.
whole different setting, and you're like,
Mhm.
this was a manor. You went into the kitchen,
Mhm.
you went down the halls, me and Jesse actually got to work in the haunt one night because we were doing a different
Oh.
show. We were awful, by the way. We did not scare anybody.
No scares had. No
Yeah.
scares happened in our corner of the map.
Yeah. we made sure if you came by, you just wait. We were just like, yeah, we don't, we're
You're those guys?
yeah,
The ones who just stare at you and never move and interact?
Yeah.
I've
We
come
tried.
across those.
Yeah. We kept trying new things I tried like standing real still because like we had like the full blown makeup, like they had their pros like do the
Mhm.
makeup on us and everything. So we
Mhm.
looked cool. And I'm just standing still. I'm like, oh, if I stand super still, they'll not even notice that I'm a real person. But meanwhile,
Yeah.
I have a GoPro strapped to my forehead and it's blinking. So the person that walked by is like, I see your camera. I'm like, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth right now. Shut your mouth. I'm gonna scare the person behind you.
It's kind of a dead giveaway.
No way to shut off the blinking.
I'm so glad you brought up Ghoulie Manor because they did such a beautiful haunt. And you're right, it was at the mall. But when you think about malls, there's a lot of empty space, empty real estate at malls, and then
Yep.
there's um, a lot of
Especially
square
now.
footage that needs to be filled. And there absolutely are haunts that are at malls, and I think a great use for them. One of the things that, of course, an indoor attraction, or in case of mall, is that you kind of get drive-by traffic, right? But
Mhm.
you're also, not having to contend with the weather, which is a real challenge for a lot of outdoor haunters. But Bully Manor, I've been there, and I totally agree with you. They had such a special haunt. The level of detail that went in there, just even I remember just like even the lamps, the lighting that they chose. And I'm not talking about scene lighting, I'm talking about prop lighting, a lamp on a table or a lamp in a corner, the sconces, everything was so beautifully done. And I agree that consistent theme throughout, from the very start, the very first room, right to the end, where I believe you ended in the graveyard,
That's where we
was,
were.
yeah, you were in the
Where we were.
graveyard where actors go to die.
Literally, oh man, we were not good.
That's where their acting career died for sure.
Started
sure.
and ended right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
One night.
funny. Well, it's funny we talk about that because just last night, I've started the website 10 years ago, but a few years ago, it became very clear that being the only person running around 6 states trying to do as many events as possible was just, I wasn't seeing as much as I possibly could because I was just one person. So I have the wonderful team that came on a couple of years ago. Lisa and Becky have been with me for a few years, and we met in a haunt actually. So just feels like kismet the way that we ended up coming together, and in a lot of ways, I built the site for people who are fans, quite like they are. And last night, for the first time ever, we sent somebody from the Halloween New England team up to a haunt in New Hampshire called the Dark Woods in Milford, New Hampshire. And Lisa was brave enough to have her first acting experience in a haunt. And it was just a one and done situation, but it was fun to kind of go behind the scenes and have her experience what it's like to have to develop a character, come up with her costume, have her makeup done, get some acting lessons, and then, work in the different scenes, interacting with the other actors, and of course, interacting with the customers. And I just honestly, about an hour ago, I was able to look through some of that content that they gathered last night. And what an incredible thing. And I think it was very eye-opening for her, as I'm sure it might have been for you guys as well. What a very challenging thing it is to be a
Yeah.
haunt actor, how incredibly exhausting it is, the stamina that's required to do it for an evening, much less a whole weekend or a 4 day, 4 days of haunting, like a Thursday through Sunday. It's very, very challenging what haunt actors do. They really are a remarkable breed.
It
Yeah,
is.
you
certainly
have to be on all the time. Like you're just
all the
like
time,
you're on all the time and you're resetting all the time. So it's
all
like
the
you're
time.
not just continuously flowing through. It's like I just did this for 30 seconds. I have 15 seconds to reset and I have to do it
Hmm.
again.
Yeah, because
So
it's like a
Yes, and then
constant flow of people
and
coming
on
in.
a
So you
busy
don't.
night, yeah, on a busy night, how do you deal with the constant stream of people coming through, right? How do you still be an effective actor when you have just a constant stream of people, in late October coming, right through without a break? And it's
oh,
very
and you're in
challenging.
makeup the whole time, by the way. So
Oh yeah,
it's
and
a whole
sweating
extra
and
thing. Yeah.
gross, and
Yeah.
when you guys were indoors at Gooley Manor, right? I mean, Lisa's in the mud up in New Hampshire after a week of rain, and of course she we're recording on October 1st, but in her, it's still nice out, right? It's still really nice out. You think of what those actors are doing in, up in Maine, outdoors in late October, how cold it gets. I remember seeing there was a haunted corn maze in Vermont, who basically just opens like the last weekend of September and maybe the first weekend of October, and they're like, okay, it gets too cold. we gotta. They end their haunted attraction season,
Wow.
3 weeks early because it just gets too cold. So they have a very short season, and they do it really really early on in the fall.
So we're obviously we love haunted houses. We love going to them.
Mm, I love hearing
I
that.
like the idea of your site because now I can kind of be like, all right, so this is going to happen here. This will work with this part of the schedule
Mhm.
because I have one right down. I live right down the street from Barris Haunted Mansion, so I just go there because it's
Okay.
just right there. And it's usually
Yeah,
decent. It's
which
usually
is
good enough.
what a gift, right? What a gift to
Right.
live so close to a really terrific haunt.
But I got to step it up. I got to switch it up. So I'm going to do that. But so you also cover ghost tours and haunted places
Hmm.
as well. Obviously, we're a ghost show. We do love Halloween. It is
Hmm.
spooky season. 'Tis the season. But
Yeah.
what are some of the ghost tours that you cover, and what have gotten the best reviews? Which ones are the best ones?
Well, the thing about having a Halloween website is that you realize pretty quickly that everyone has a very different taste in what is spooky, scary, good, lackluster. I mean, it really runs the gamut what people's opinions are. I'm sure you certainly encounter this all the time too. People can be very opinionated. So I tend to
Oh,
steer clear of
yes.
reviews, but I will only speak from my experience. There's a great go. There's two that really stand out to me. Um, Down in Mystic, Connecticut, there's Seaside Shadows, and they have two locations. I don't know if you've ever been. They do a couple of ghost tours in Mystic, so a very historic area. They do one at a historic burial ground, and then that's their graveyard ghost tour, and then they do a downtown Mystic ghost stroll, and they've been doing it for, I think they've also been around for 10 years doing this. And then last year they expanded into Westerly, Rhode Island, which, if no one's ever been to Westerly, that's a really charming town as well, very
Yeah.
close to the Connecticut border, and they do a gorgeous ghost tour there as well. And they're chock full of history, haunted history, very, very well researched tours, beautifully presented. Um, the owner, she's really just a superstar in her own right, the way that she has crafted these scripts, the way that she delivers the tours, but she has an excellent group of guides as well who really, keep the standard very high. I She's been doing it for a long time. I've been to, I think, all of her tours, and she does a ton of events as well. She'll do like a spooky story dinner, at a haunted inn in Mystic. She's doing one at the Tapped Apple in Westerly, Rhode Island, which they do hard cider there, and they'll do spooky stories and tastings. She does a lot of things even at local libraries. She's written books about haunted history. She's a really remarkable person. Her name is Courtney Mackenbale, and she just does an incredible job. I also hit up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which, gosh, that's a spooky city, right, with a ton of
Yeah.
history. There's New England Curiosities, a woman named Roxy Zwicker who does a tremendous job. She's been doing it for years, and she's also a superstar in her own right. She just her stories are so well done. I I don't know whether you take a lot of ghost tours, but I've always been very impressed by how much research has gone into them, how, sometimes they'll have a lot of visuals where they'll, kind of pass around pictures of things that they're talking about to help people kind of see what something looked like at a certain time, or show, an old newspaper clipping, with a headline. When they can bring in some of those extra elements to help people understand and come away with a sense of not just haunted history, but just local New England history,
Right.
it's a very enriching experience. And um, I think what I love about going on a ghost tour is that you will see people really from every walk of life. You see people of every age. Sometimes you'll see kids who are mature enough, because of course a lot of ghost tour content can be a bit on the grisly side. So sometimes you might have kids who are mature enough to be able to attend with their parents. You'll see people who are tourists just coming through, we're looking for something to do. There's a tour company out of Block Island, in Rhode Island, which again, you think,
Shout
how
out to
can you
Holly
even
and Rick.
yeah, oh, hey, okay, there you go. So, and they do an incredible job, right? They've really
Yeah.
expanded a lot, even added an escape room. Just what an incredible thing that they've done, that in their little corner, their very specific nook that's not easy to get to, but very worthwhile to make it out to Block Island, to be able to have a very special experience that's very thoughtful and presented with a great deal of care. I think ghost tours are a wonderful way for people to get immersed in the season. I mean, I don't
I
have to sell
also
you guys on this, right? But it's like a wonderful way for people to get immersed in the season, because not
it's
everybody likes to get scared or be startled in
right.
the way, but it absolutely puts them on edge and, intrigues them, which I love.
But it's also a great way, even off season, to go and learn about the
Year
place that you're
round.
going to. So I went to Nashville in February, and obviously I love ghosts and all that stuff. So one of the first things I
Hmm.
did in Nashville was go on the ghost tour. And
Hmm.
I learned a lot about Nashville through the
Yes.
ghost tour. So I think it's a great way. We have people that come up to Salem every October. You're psychopaths, by the way, if you go to Salem in October. It is insanity. Pro hack, go in September. But go on the ghost tour and you'll learn so much about the city and places around it, not just about the witches, but about buildings there, like who owned it. You're gonna learn some haunted facts, of course, as well, but you just
Yes.
learned so much about these places going on these tours.
I saw a
I
video
couldn't
of
have said
taking.
it better. Yeah, so true. So true. There's a ton of local history that you would just never necessarily come across if because there aren't necessarily history tours everywhere you go, right?
Yeah.
There isn't, but there often are ghost tours in cities. So, yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah. Dave, what were you saying? You saw a video of
Yeah, of Salem, October 1st, literally today, and it's a mob scene as if it were Halloween. It's already like
yeah.
just crazy. It's crazy how like you go from September to like October, like a light switch in Salem is just bananas.
Well, and
Yeah, maybe,
today was a gorgeous October 1st
very
day
true.
to be in
Right.
Salem. And I mean, I have a sunburn from today. So it is, we did have someone from our team, our newest team member, Rachel, did go up to Salem today on October 1st, but she is undaunted by crowds and the chaos that Salem might bring, and she just soaks it up. So for me, I agree. September is more my speed in Salem, but Rachel's fearless. She's all about really, really getting the full thing. So that she headed up
Right.
there today. I've been enjoying some pictures from that too.
Yeah, I would recommend, if people haven't done Salem in October at all, then you should experience it once. I mean, yes, you're going to have a massive crowd. Yes, you should probably take the train because you won't find parking or however you want to get there. But it's it's an experience, and it's a city that isn't really built for that kind of a crowd, but they do it. Don't expect to get a seat at a restaurant. Expect to wait to grab a drink at a bar, and expect a lot of people, but it's an experience. I've experienced it. I won't do it again. But I love Salem. We do try to go every single year, but usually we're doing July, August, maybe September. But even September now is getting crazy out there. So it's definitely an experience. But I mean, some people are all about that. They're all about being in giant crowds and
Absolutely.
not being able to find parking.
Yes, people very much are. I highly recommend parking at the Swampscott MBTA, taking the
Yeah.
commuter rail in and walking
Yeah.
that mile. You will thank me later.
Or get there
Yeah.
super early, because you can get parking if you
Mhm,
get there super early, but it is,
mhm.
as Jesse said, an experience. You should experience it once,
Yeah.
but then you go back another month and you do it right, where you can actually get into everywhere you wanted to see. So
Mhm,
as
mhm.
you've been doing this, as we start to wind this interview down a little bit, you do the ghost tours, you go to the haunted houses, you're doing movie festivals. Is there a thing you look forward to the most? And is there something that has shocked you that you just really enjoyed that you've come across over the years? If that makes sense.
Gosh, what
Because so
being
while you're
shocked.
thinking,
That's a tricky one. Yeah, but I definitely know. I mean, I as far as what I look forward to every year, to me, so there's a haunted attraction up in Lee, New Hampshire, at
Mhm.
a farm, and it's called Haunted Overload. And it is a, world-renowned haunted attraction. People really do come from absolutely around the country on a regular basis every year to come to see, this in this little, rural corner of New Hampshire. Haunted Overload is Halloween personified for me in a lot of ways. It is, if you have not been, it's an outdoor haunted trail. It is full of these incredible creatures that are built as high as the treetops. They use mostly organic materials, so a lot of wood strapping, building these, there's even like this huge Komodo dragon that they built that you can walk through and underneath. Have any of you guys been to Haunted Overload?
No, we need to now.
Oh my gosh. Well, yes, I mean, it is, it really is a bucket list haunted attraction, period. The fact that it happens to be in New England is an incredible gift to those of us who are within driving distance of it or can take a quick, overnight there. It is very colorful. Everything is very exaggerated proportion. So when you walk through, you're walking through as you're dwarfed by these huge creatures that have been built, these giant, grim reapers, or these huge skulls that you walk underneath, and castles, and a train that comes, that comes through the ceiling, and of course the haunted mansion that they built there. The person who is the owner, I mean, it started as a yard haunt, as many pro haunted attractions originated, and his is no exception. He just kept outgrowing his parents' yard, and then eventually moved to one location, and then eventually has landed at where he is now, which is Demerit Hill Farm. I think he's been there. He might have been there a solid like 12 years, is my guess, at this particular farm. Why I love it so much is that they have a variety of ways that you can experience it. So you can experience it as a haunted attraction
Mm.
where, everything you would expect, in the sense that you have characters who are in, makeup and costume, and they're, jumping out at you, creeping you out, stalking you, all of that kind of haunted experience that you would expect. But they also have what's called Fright Light, and Fright Light is an actor-free experience. So there's no actors, nobody popping out at you, but they have all the lights and the fog, and you're just walking through an, foggy haunted trail with the sound, and they have a wonderful sound system there, which I don't know if people would realize what a difference that makes, but to have a sound system where you can actually feel it rumbling through your body as you walk through the trail, it's very intense. And what is nice about Fright Light is that people are encouraged to take photographs, which is really an incredible opportunity because the haunt is so jaw-droppingly beautiful.
Mhm.
It's extremely artistic, and it's just like nothing you've ever seen before. And the best way to kind of, poorly describe it, it really falls short of this, but it feels like you're walking through, Tim Burton's imagination, created in a haunted trail form, but, to the nth degree. And so they have the Fright Light, which is a scare-free experience. They have the regular haunt show, but they also open up on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday afternoons. I think they open at 10 a.m., maybe till 4 or 5 p.m. And for short money, I want to say, under $15, it might even be $12, you can go through during the daytime, and there's no scares, there's no sound, nothing like that. It's just that gorgeous to walk through during the daytime. And there's something very magical about walking through the New Hampshire woods with the foliage and the leaves kind of crunching under your feet, and you can just absorb this beautiful haunted attraction that is as gorgeous and as stunning in the daytime in the pure daylight as it is at night under the scene lights. It is a very unique experience. So this year, it's something that I absolutely do every year. I personally like for me, it's a bit of a hike to get up there. And I've done it enough years where I had to drive back to Massachusetts and in those dark, foggy New Hampshire nights in late October to realize it's time to spring for a hotel. So I recommend people stay in nearby. Dover is a great place to look for some hotels. So I'll stay in Dover, which is about 10, 15 minutes away. And I'll go to the haunted house at night. And then the next morning I'll get up and grab my coffee and head over to Haunted Overload and walk through with, drinking my coffee and just enjoying the trail. And every picture that you take is, the best picture you've ever taken. It's just so beautiful. Everything is it's very unique, and we're extremely fortunate to have a haunt of that caliber. One thing I'll mention is that the Haunted Overload is one of 3 haunted attractions that's participating in what is called the Legendary Haunt Tour, which is a national haunt tour that happens every November, and they visit a different pocket of the country every year. So they might be in Chicago one year, or in, they might be down in Florida one year. So this year they're coming, and they've billed it as the Salem Legendary Haunt Tour. But the haunts that are participating are Haunted Overload, Fright Kingdom, which is in Nashua, and also Barrett's Haunted Mansion, which is in Abington, Mass. And these are 3, long time haunted attractions with a very high caliber, production value and, long history. And this tour draws people from around the country every year. It happens in November. And what's very unique about it is you get behind the scenes tours. You get to go through without the normal crowds. It's just the people who've signed up for this tour. It's primarily people who are super haunt fans, and also many haunters, professional haunters from around the country. Some who have some of the largest haunted attractions around the country will hop on this tour and come to our area of New England to be able to go, see these attractions, and then they'll get to spend a portion of their time in Salem on one of the days of, just to kind of kick around and enjoy Salem. So, of course, Salem in November, it's a very good time to go.
Yeah,
It's a nice speed to go in November. And Haunted Overload is one of those haunts that is chosen during that time. So, I will say Haunted Overload does get super crowded, in October. You got to get tickets in advance for it. But the tour, the Legendary Haunter, is a unique way to check it out. So,
yeah, I'm just looking at some pictures of Haunted Overload right now. I have seen pictures of this before on Instagram. I've never been here, but it looks unreal. I'm going to have to play.
It is unreal.
I don't think I want to miss out on this. I don't want to wait.
No, you don't. You don't.
We'll have to make it happen.
Yeah, we're gonna.
You do. You should. You absolutely have to do it, and you will think, how do I live in New England? I've never been here, and I did not know how much I needed to prioritize this experience in my life. And I would really, again, I don't know how far it is for you to get there, but if you have the opportunity to do both the nighttime show and the daytime show, it's worth it. You really, if you have the chance to do both, you'll be so glad that you worked it out to do that. What I will sometimes do is if I go up and do the daytime show, after I walk through, I might head over to, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is a gorgeous city, just to, have dinner, kick around, enjoy that beautiful city, and then head back for the evening show. But if anyone is hearing this and thinking of Haunted Overload, you absolutely have to get tickets in advance. They do sell out. It does get quite crowded, but they do limit the tickets that they sell. And I should be super clear that the only times that you can take pictures are the fright light experiences and the daytime experiences. Photos are encouraged, but the regular haunt show with the actors popping out, there's no cameras allowed. So keep that in mind.
Well, we'll have to find some time to do that in between us actually going to places like the Oliver House and SK Pierce
Mm.
Mansion, and going and doing ghost investigations to go do ones that wind us down, which are haunted attractions, right? So
Isn't that funny, right?
yeah.
The inverted
Anyways,
experience for most.
yeah, it is. It is.
Mm,
Anyways, Alexander, it's been amazing. Thank you for coming on and sharing some of these places that we are definitely going to have to check
mm.
out. Do you want to just plug where people can find Halloween New England?
Yeah, so HalloweenNewEngland.com. You can find us also on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. But I will say, even though we push a lot of information out through the social channels, the website's where it lives. So there's 2,500 Halloween events, individual Halloween events in the 6
Crazy.
New England states between Labor Day and mid-November. So those live on the website. As well as an additional over 400 Halloween attractions. So if you want anything, little things, big things, free things, fancy VIP experiences. There's such a range of things that you can experience. And I really have them all in one place, but the website's the place to look for it. If you love something specific, like let's say you love ghost tours and you want to go to Maine, you can find all the ghost tours that are existing in Maine. If you love haunted houses and you think I want to go to Connecticut and do all the haunted houses, you're going to find everything in one place. And if you're short on ideas, you can punch in your zip code and then you'll be given a list of all the things from the database that are near you. So there's a lot of different ways. I think a lot of people enjoy browsing it and just coming across unexpected things that they did not know happened. So or are happening. Again, many of those events are free as well. A lot of them are just small community events, and then also some really big things like those big haunted attractions as well, big pumpkin festivals.
Absolutely. Well, it is Halloween season. October has officially started. We're excited about that. And for me, every time I go to a city, I'm like, find me the ghost tour. And this is a great way to figure
Mhm.
out if you're going to a city, find out what ghost tours are there because you want to learn about the history, you want to learn about the ghosts. And if you already know about the ghosts and the history, then you get to go on that ghost tour and find out if they get anything wrong, like Rob does.
Well,
I don't get anything wrong ever.
No, I'm not saying you get anything wrong. I'm saying you go on ghost tours and you correct them.
Oh,
plus,
Rightfully
every
no.
tour guide's going to
yes.
give their own twist on it, right? Every tour guide's going to bring their own flavor of the things that they really
That's what Rob
connect
calls it
with.
too.
So they vary.
He calls it a twist when he just gets everything wrong about stuff. It's a unique spin on
Mm,
reality. It's wild.
yeah. Yes.
That's funny.
He has a unique twist on pronouncing people's names and town names and all sorts of
It
things.
is bed
They're
cloths,
quite
and I
unique.
will die on this hill.
I got one quick question, just a quick question. I see, so I'm looking at your site now, and it's really cool. And I'm mainly interested in the horror movie stuff, which is awesome. I love
Yeah.
that you've got all these not reboots, but like they show all the old classics, like the
Yes.
Exorcist 50 year. I see the House of a Thousand Corpses 20 year, which was
Yeah.
awesome. So are you kind of like a horror movie enthusiast?
Yeah, I definitely grew up on horror movies. I was a kid, so to date myself, I absolutely grew up in the era of VHSs and video
Mhm.
stores before Blockbuster was Blockbuster. We just had a local video store, and I would go and browse through the aisles there and find, come across the VHS cover that most intrigued me, and it was really the cover that pulled me in. So I do remember being, 8, 9 years old, just watching whatever I could get my hands on, watching it over and over again. So for me, being able to have a lot of those wonderful classic horror movies, beloved horror movies, cult horror movies that are shown in a variety of places on my site is a great treat to be able to do that. I go
Mm.
to them myself. I don't just list them. One thing I think people may not realize, and so I appreciate the opportunity to actually talk about it, which is there's a lot of different people who just love horror and they put out, they might do an event like a horror trivia night, or they will, so somebody from the Halloween New England team went to an event. They did a screening of The Lost Boys that was projected out in the back of Buttonwoods Brewery in Cranston, Rhode Island, and it was sponsored by PVD Horror, so based out of Providence. And they're a couple of guys who love horror and have, not just talked about it on their podcast, but they, create these events where people can sit together in community, talk about the movies that they love and watch them together. There's a lot of events like that. The Haverhill, Massachusetts Library every year does horror movie matinees, where they always have a matinee in the middle of the week, which again, they just do it every year. And you think, really? Like a library in the middle of the week doing a matinee of a classic horror film? But they do it. And I want those kinds of things that you may never come across on your own. I want them on my site because they may be just perfect for what you're looking for. There's different horror cons that happen, which again is another wonderful way for people to engage in the horror community, with people who have a shared love of horror movies and all of that. And, for me, it is such a treat to be able to see some of those old movies. They're not old, right? They're in my lifetime, some of them, but, just to be able to go to a screening of Nightmare on Elm Street, and just see it again and relive how much I, love that particular movie. Or, I'm hoping to make it to The Exorcist in the theaters again, with their anniversary coming up in the middle of the month. And, but a lot of these things are not in the movie theaters. They're really more community events. I'll just highlight a couple that have really intrigued me, if you don't mind. There's one, so Friday the 13th is coming up this year in October. And there's in Milford, Connecticut, they're doing a screening of Friday the 13th, Jason Lives. It's going to be in the woods at a park out there. So an outdoor movie theater on Friday the 13th itself. And then, of course, that would be a date that people should definitely check out my site, because there's going to be a lot of things, related to that particular, I don't know if it's a holiday, but that particular important date in all of our lives, Friday the 13th. And PVD Horror, as I mentioned, do a lot of incredible events in the Providence area. And, local libraries, there's been a great horror festival that happens in Hartford outdoors as well. Different Halloween screenings. Drive-ins will often do, classic horror films as well. And then even some of those old, movie theaters that, they've been restored. They're, nonprofits now, they're often like volunteer run. I was just coming across one in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, which is a pretty rural area of New Hampshire. And they're doing a whole Halloween weekend with a bunch of classic horror films. And, I love to see that these things are happening, and I want to make sure that people can come across them. Again, it's part of being part of the community together, getting out and connecting with people who love the things that you love.
For sure. Absolutely. Have you seen Malignant?
No, it's on my list, actually. It is on I have like a short list, for what to do when I have a little bit more time after the month of October. Things die down for me. It's on my list.
You'll have to get back to us and let us know what you think, because we've had a internal debate over this movie for the past
2 years.
Feels like 55 years at this point. It just doesn't stop.
Very contentious. Well, I just had the opportunity to go on and share my 5 favorite horror movies on a local podcast, and I thought, oh my gosh, like the pressure of having to do your top 5, right?
Yeah, we haven't
did
done
Malignant
that.
make it to anyone's top 5?
Definitely not mine, is what I will say. Yeah, top 5 is tough because there's so many different genres within horror and stuff like that as well. But I think
your top 5 might not even be good. Like, that's the thing I was really confronted with is, my top 5 might be my top 5, but they may not be like great movies.
but it's your personal top 5 too.
In my personal 5, yeah.
Right, gotta fine tune it, man. Skinamarink.
Yeah.
Skinamarink. Top 5 done.
There you go. There's your top 5.
Oh, mama. Yeah, there we go. Got my top 5.
Anyways, Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go check out Halloween New England. And if you are looking for Halloween events to do, remember Friday, October 20th in Plymouth, Massachusetts. You can join us at Second Wind Brewery, where we will be celebrating our 100th episode. And October 28th, we will be back in Plymouth doing a convention there where we will be doing a live podcast as well. So make sure you go check out those events. Go check out all the fabulous haunted hotels. I think it's the first time I've ever said the word fabulous, but it happened.
I don't
So
like
we're
it.
just gonna, yeah. Well, I probably
It
won't do
must
it
be
again.
me. I'm rubbing off on you. I definitely use fabulous.
That's what it
It's
was.
definitely in my repertoire.
All right, that's gonna do it for us, everybody. We'll catch you later. Peace.